Hey guys, it's Mrs. Lamphere, and in this video we are going to look at the Set Up Your Portfolio assignment. So I am in Unit 5, under the Unit 5 tab, and on the Set Up Portfolio Assignment link. And so in this assignment we're going to create the index or home page for your portfolio. So I know we kind of already started on something like this with your hyperlinks assignment, but we're going to kind of redo it and get it to look a lot fancier. We're going to include an image of yourself, you're going to have a title, and then links or buttons to the other pages that you've created. So we're making one big portfolio of all the different web pages you've designed so far. So on the next page, they kind of give you an idea of what this is going to look like. They provide you with the text here, so we're going to open the index code, copy and paste the code into a new Notepad document. Then we're going to save that as index.html in our portfolio folder. So let's go ahead and open up this code. We can highlight all of this, Control-C to copy, grab a new notepad, and paste it in there. So your instructions say to save this as index.html in your portfolio folder. You'll notice you should already have an index file in your portfolio folder. That should have been your hyperlinks assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this to hyperlinks just so I can keep these straight, because I don't want to lose that file, but I'm going to be renaming this one. This is going to be kind of my new homepage for my portfolio. So I'm going to rename my old one to hyperlinks. That way I can save this one as index.html. Okay, so we can go ahead and open that up now and kind of see what we're working with. So they kind of give you a blank template here, but you can see there's some sort of table structure. This is a spot for our title. We're going to be putting in a picture of ourselves, and then we have some background color and some table background that we are going to change all of this out and put in our own information. So that's kind of what we're starting with. And when it ends, we're going to have it looking something similar to this, with our own colors and our own buttons. So if you click on this Set Up Your Portfolio Assignment link here, this will pull up the web or the Word document instructions for you. So we need to follow through with these instructions in order to get this portfolio all set up. So after learning about HTML, tables, adding graphics, we're going to complete these instructions to create our portfolio homepage. Save a photo of yourself in your portfolio images folder. Name the file myself.jpg and make the photo no larger than 400 pixels wide. So if you have a picture of yourself, it's preferred that you use that. If you don't want to use a picture of yourself, that's fine. What you'll have to do then is find an image online that best represents you, and you can use that image instead. But I'm going to go ahead. I have a couple, well, I have one picture of myself in my pictures folder. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Oops. And I'll drag that. This is going to go into our portfolio images folder. So I'm going to click on the image that I have of myself and drag a copy of it over into my images folder. So here's the picture of myself as a JPEG image that I'm going to use for my portfolio. So I have that saved as myself, and you don't have to type in, where's the instructions at? You don't have to type in the .jpeg. Whatever file format it is already under, so this is already a JPEG image, so I don't have to type in myself.jpg. It's a JPEG format, so it's already assumed that that will have a JPG extension. So if you have a file, a picture of you, and it's like a ping image or a GIF image, then you'll want to use that file extension. And then if you're familiar with your if you have some editing software where you could kind of resize your image, it's recommended to do that. I'm not going to go into how to do that exactly in this video, but if you are already familiar with how to do that, you are more than welcome to set your image up that way. Your instructions say we need to keep this image under 400 pixels wide, so make sure you have that set up. If not, I'll show you how to kind of make that work inside the code if you're not familiar with your photo editing software. Okay, so we have our picture saved, and we named it myself dot whatever file extension that type of picture is. Locate the CSS code that refers to the page background color and change to a color of your choice. So I'm going to need to open up my chart of colors here. So get your chart of colors PDF open so we can choose our background color. Okay, mine finally opened here, so I have my chart of colors open. And in our code, it said to find where they reference background color, and we're going to switch it out with our own color. So we saw in the example, they kind of have this greenish color. And so now you can go ahead and choose a different color from your chart of colors here and put whatever color you'd like. I think I'm going to go with, I've kind of been doing a purple theme throughout the course whenever I get the choice, so I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. So I'm going to fill in my background color with a purple color, and then I also need to replace the table background. So I'm going to have dark background or dark purple in my as my main background, and then I think I'll use a lighter purple for my table background. Okay, so locate the code that refers to the page background and replace that color. We locate the code that refers to the table background and change out that color. So that's what we just did. We did the background color code and the table background color code. Using the Cool Text graphics generator website, that's the cooltext.com, create a title using a color scheme that works well with your background and table background colors. Make this title size 70. So I'm going to go to my cooltext.com, and you can pick out however you want your website title to look. I'm going to go ahead, I kind of like this glowing images here. I'm going to replace this with Mrs. Lamphier's portfolio. So it kind of generates, again, a preview of what this is going to look like. I don't want it quite that big on my page. So I know your instructions say to make it 70, size 70, but I'm going to take this down a few notches just because I don't want my page to be quite that wide. So you can kind of adjust the size to what you think will look best on your page. And then you can feel free to switch up with your editing tools, since mine's going to be more of a purple background. I kind of want to have a purple shadow there on mine. So you can, again, you can kind of feel free to mess with any of these different options on editing your title. Once you have it the way you want, you can click on that Create Logo button, and that will generate the image for you. So we're going to go ahead and download that image. And I'm going to put that image into my portfolio images folder. So inside my portfolio folder, I'm going to go inside my images. And I have a portfolio title. That was back from when I did my hyperlinks or my website titles assignment. So I'm probably going to replace that one with this new one. Let's open up our instructions. Name your file appropriately and put it in your portfolio images folder. So I'm going to drag this image, if I can get this set up just right, drag this image into my portfolio images folder. and rename it. I'm going to keep it portfolio title and just add in an underscore. And I'll just remember that that's the newer title that I've made. Okay, so I have my title created. Name the file appropriately and put it in that images folder inside your portfolio folder. Now we need to locate the HTML code that refers to the title and edit it with your own file name. So inside our code here, we need to find where it refers to the title. And looks like here in this first cell of the first row, we see images portfolio underscore title dot gif. So I'm going to make sure that looks like it was kind of the default lingo. And is mine is actually a ping image. So if you select the image that you're looking at, so the picture of myself is a JPEG image, my portfolio title is a PNG or a ping image. So I'm going to replace where they have GIF, and I'm going to put in PNG for ping, and we'll save that. So locate the HTML code that refers to the title and edit it with your own file name. So that's what I just did in order to replace with the title that I just created. So again, save that, and let's kind of preview and see where we're at with everything. So open up that index file in a browser, and there we go. So as you can see, my picture is way too big, so we can kind of make some adjustments at this point. I'm going to go back into my code, and I'm going to find my picture. This is the myself JPEG. So again, this code was already generated for you, and so they planned on you naming it myself.jpg, so that already showed up for us. And I'm going to actually set the width of this image right behind the alt tag. I'm going to say width equals 400 pixels. And let's see if that changes anything. Okay, so that's a little better size. So your instructions say to keep your picture under 400 pixels. So you can kind of put that width equals 400 pixels along with your image code. So right after where I have the alt tag, where it would say picture of me, is where I added in width equals 400 pixels. And also looking at this, I don't really want my table to take up 100% of my screen. I'm going to change that and knock it down to 50%. And these are all kind of adjustments you can make if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. I just think that that looks a little nicer. And this is where our buttons are going to go off to the side here. So I can see that this is the cell that my picture is in. And I think I want to go ahead and center my picture inside that cell. So I'm going to go back to where I have the image of myself. And inside the code for that table data cell, I'm going to go ahead and say align equals center. And let's see what that looks like. There, I kind of like that better. So instead of my picture being offset to the left portion of that cell, it's more centered now inside that cell. And then I'll go ahead and center my buttons too when I get those made. Okay, so let's move on to the next step of our instructions here. So using the Cool Text Graphic Generator website again, we're going to create a title for each of the following. And when they say title here, this is where it can be a little confusing. We're not creating titles really, we're creating buttons. And we're going to be creating buttons in order to link to each of these pages. So going back to that Cool Text website, now you get to choose You can choose another different type of style. You can choose the same style, but we're going to create some buttons for our web page. I'm going to go ahead and start. This one's kind of funky fresh. Take that down a couple notches in size. Okay, so we need a button for each of our pages. So we need one for invitation. And that one's kind of hard to read. So I'm going to pause this and so you don't have to watch me filter through all these different buttons. But go ahead and mess with the styles, kind of experiment around a little bit until you find a style that you like for your buttons. Okay, so I finally kind of decided on a certain style of a button that I like. So once you have that, your button style created, and you've adjusted all of your editing options, you can go ahead and click on that Create Logo button, and that will generate the image for you. So just like we did with the title, the portfolio title that we created, we're going to download that image and save it into our portfolio images folder. So I'm going to drag that in there. I'm going to call this is the button for my invitation page, so I'm going to call this invite_button. Okay, now I'm going to go back and do the exact same thing in order to create buttons for my other pages. So I'm going to just go back to this page because I want them to all have the same look. So I want them to be consistent in their design. So let's see. This next button, we should have one for invitation, one for webmaster, and one for colors, and one for famous. So I'm going to just type in for my webmaster. I added a shadow on my last one. And create logo. Download that image. Drag it into my images folder. I'm going to rename this one and call it Webmaster Button. Okay, and then you need to do that exact same thing 2 more times in order to create a button for your colors page, and then also one called famous. And we haven't created this page yet. It's something we are going to do yet in this course. So go ahead and get that button made, and it's going to be called famous. So I'm going to pause this video while you make your last 2 buttons, and then we'll pick up after that. Alright, so I finished making the buttons for all of these 4 different pages. I have them saved in my images folder inside my portfolio folder with the file name of my choice. So I named them all the name of the page followed by _button, just to kind of help me keep track of which image is which. So now we need to locate the HTML code that refers to the titles or those buttons and edit with our own file names. Once we've inserted into the HTML code, these titles should appear on the left side of your page. So let's go into our code and replace their information with our file names. So if looking here, this is myself JPEG. In this next row, this looks like my CSS assignment. And where's my invitation? Oh, up here. So above my image code is where it has the code for my invitation. So I need to, this is the reference link, so this is the link to my page. So I'm going to have to edit that because that's not what my invitation file is named. So if I go into my portfolio, into Unit 3, invitation, the invite that I created is actually called invite 3. So I'm going to replace where they have index.html and replace that with invite3.html. And then I'm going to change out the image that they had for their invitation button. And I'm going to replace it with the name of my button, which is invite_button, and it is a ping image. So I'm going to type in invite_button and change out GIF to ping. And let's save that and check it out and see what that looks like for us. And there we go. So we have one button replaced. And what I want to do next is kind of make some adjustments to my code. Actually, first let's see if, good. So our link works. So hopefully you've got your link code set up correctly. So what I want to do again is kind of make some adjustments to kind of center this button more and get it a little closer to my image there. And so I know that this is a row, or this is a column in my table where these buttons are lined up. And so I'm going to have to widen that column a little bit because right now it's set up to take up only 25% of the table. So I'm going to make that column a little more wider. Let's go ahead with 50%. And then I want to make sure that that invitation button is centered within that column. So I'm going to go up here and grab this div-align center code and add it in front of that button as well. So let's save that and see if we can see the difference here. I like that a little better. So you can see on this first one, it's a little off to the left. I wanted it a little bit closer to my image and kind of center everything a little better on the page. So I made some adjustments in my code there in order to make that happen. Okay. So make sure you have that saved. Let's look at the next step of our instructions. All right, so we have one of our buttons replaced. Now we need to go and edit the rest of them and replace them with our other button names. So we have our invitation one replaced. Next one is my CSS assignment, or my webmaster role. So let's see, we called this one webmaster_button. And that one is also a ping image. And double check the file path here. So I believe my CSS assignment is in my Unit 3 folder, so we should have in our Unit 3 folder CSS assignment. That should work if you saved that correctly earlier in the course. If it's in a different folder or a different location, make sure you set up your file path correctly. Then our next button is for our colors web page, and this button is called colors_button.png, and that should be inside your Unit 4 colors folder called index.html. Let's double check that file path. Unit 4 colors. There's my index.html, so we're good on that file path. And then my last one is this famous button. So again, this is a page we haven't created yet, but you should have created a button for it. So famous_button, and for me this is another ping image. So let's go ahead and save that and see what that looks like. There you go. So they're all coming through now. I forgot to add in the div-align center code to get all of those to center. So I'm going to copy and paste that. Let's see, right here and right here and right here. Now let's open that up again. All right, there we go. So now all my buttons are centered. And we also adjusted the file paths for the links while we were working in there. So all of our links should be working as well. And when you get to your colors page, on this page you haven't created that back to portfolio link yet. So that's something we're going to have to add in. And then obviously we don't have our famous page made yet either. So that link will not work. Okay, so save the file, open the page. We just previewed that. Make sure the links to all your web pages work. If not, locate any errors in the code and correct them. Note that the last link, famous, will not work as you have not created this page yet. So again, like I said though, we also at this point don't have a back to portfolio link on our colors page, so we're going to have to do that. So I'm going to open up the code for my colors web page. So here's the code for my colors web page, and I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. I just want to add this probably in the same row, just on the other side of that images courtesy of K-12. So if we open up that colors web page, this is where I have my citation for my images, and I want to go ahead and I'll just add a back to portfolio link over on this side. So I'm going to do the same row, but just kind of add it over here in these further right columns. So let's go back into that code. And so what I want to do, here's the row that my citation is in. So within that row, I'm just going to, and yeah, you can see that that column is spanning 4 columns. So this is set up to span all 4 columns. So what I'm going to do is highlight that table data, copy, return down once, and paste it. And instead of my citation taking up all 4 columns, I want it to just span for 2 columns. And then I want this other row to also span for 2 columns. And let's see how that works. And then what I need to include in here is the code for a back to portfolio link. So I know I've created one of those back on my invitation page, because I can't remember off the top of my head what that code is supposed to look like. So I'm going to go open up my Invite 3 notepad and find the code that took me back to my portfolio. So I'm going to just go ahead, I'm going to open that up. Again, there's no way I'd be able to remember that code off the top of my head. So instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm going to go back in, open that code, copy that code, and replace images courtesy of K-12 with the back to portfolio reference link. So let's save that and make sure that works. Open that page back up. So we want to go to our colors page, and there we go. There's the back to portfolio link. That takes me back to my portfolio. So again, this is something you'll want to double check back in your colors code. So if your file path is set up correctly, again, this back to portfolio, this backs us out of folders, this code right here. So the // means we're backing out of 2 folders. So we're inside the colors folder, we back out of the colors folder into the Unit 4 folder, we back out of the Unit 4 folder into the portfolio folder, and that's what takes us back to the index.html file. So that's how we set up that back code. So make sure that's saved, make sure all of this stuff is saved, and this is the code for my portfolio. Make sure that is saved. Double check all of your links to make sure they're working correctly. And again, this famous one won't work for you. And someone during our Class Connect mentioned that, well, where did our email link go? That is a great question. So obviously for this assignment you don't need to include an email link, but if you'd like to add that on there somewhere, you are more than welcome to do so. Let's double check our instructions here, make sure we've got everything. So make sure your links work to your web pages. If not, locate any errors. Zip and submit your entire portfolio folder. So in your folders, you're going to go outside of your portfolio folder, right click on it, send to compressed zipped folder. So you're going to zip your entire portfolio folder and submit that to the Dropbox in order to complete this assignment. And that ought to do it for this assignment for you. If you have any questions, please let me know.